And what is pride? To think that we know all. If we think that we know all, there is nothing to learn. If you have a teenager at home, you know how difficult it is to deal with teenagers. Why? Because they're going through that phase in which they think they know all. If they think they know all, what's the point of listening to anyone? I already know everything. And there are people that clearly never leave their teenager years because they spend the rest of their lives thinking they know all. And that pride causes so much pain in our lives. There are two ways we can move forward in life. Either it's moving forward through love or moving forward through pain. What is moving forward through love? To love myself is not to kiss me and say, you are the most beautiful woman on the planet. Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the prettiest of them all? I am. No. That's not the way we love ourselves. What is to love ourselves? Is to choose what is right for us. I will not do this. Why? Because this is not wise for me. It's not that it's a sin. It's not that God will hate me for doing it. It's for the simple fact that this is not wise for me. I will not hate someone. Why? Because when I hate someone, I'm the one in pain here. I'm suffering. The person that I'm hating could be right now in Cancun having a coconut drink. 95 degrees by a beach. And here I am, 32 degrees, not drinking a coconut drink, full of hatred. The other person is not even thinking about my existence. Yet here I am in pain, in misery, because I hate this person so much. So hate is consuming who? Me. Is destroying me. So I will not hate for the simple fact that I have understood that it is not wise for me to hate someone. When I do, I'm allowing that other person to control my life. If someone hates me, there's two possibilities. Either they don't like me or they are emotionally sick, very, very sick. And from that point of view, there's very few people who are morally healthy. You go around and people get annoyed by the littlest thing that you do to them. You just walk into a store, you forget to leave the door open for them, that's it. You destroy their day. That's how emotionally sick people are. And if someone does harm to me, there's a good chance they are emotionally sick. They are in pain themselves. They are unhappy. And how can we create an illusion that we're going to lessen our pain? By disturbing other people. By making sure that we contemplate the misery of someone else. So we harm someone to contemplate their pain, and that gives us an illusion that we just assuaged. We lessen our own pain. So that next time someone harms you, be wise. Don't allow yourself to be contaminated by this person's emotional sickness. You are more important. Now, if you do that, you understand that we have harmed others as well. I have caused pain in someone else's. That's what we call humbleness. But if we are too proud, what happens? We never listen to anyone. And by never listening to anyone, we're going to create our own experiences falling into holes that other people have fallen before. In life, we don't have to experience suffering. We might experience pain, but not suffering. There's a big difference between pain and suffering. Pain is when we have physical pain, emotional pain. Suffering is the lack of understanding of the purpose of pain. Then we get into a state of despair, we go nuts. But it's a choice. And unfortunately, because of our pride, We choose pain in order to learn instead of self-love to learn. So why humbleness is so important? Well, because humbleness helps us understand that we don't know nothing yet. There is always room to learn. We can always learn from other people. So Jesus, he comes, and the first lesson that he teaches is humbleness. Why? Because all the other virtues that he will teach, patience, tolerance, love, needs a foundation. What's the foundation? Humbleness. If the foundation is pride, it's impossible to learn anything else, because a proud individual already knows everything. If we think we already know everything, there's nothing else to learn. An edifice, a building, needs a foundation. If we create a building without a foundation, any wind that will get would top down the building. So the foundation of our lives is humbleness. Knowing, being aware, there is so much to learn. If we have the foundation of humbleness, everything else that Jesus taught, we will learn, because we are aware that we don't know. There is a famous story about Socrates, the Greek philosopher. The story goes that all the other Greek philosophers, they were disputing amongst themselves who was the greatest philosopher of all times. And of course, Socrates could care less about that, because that's pride, thinking who is the biggest. So all these great philosophers, they go to a temple of Delphus to ask the gods if they could reveal to them who was the greatest. And then the medium receives a message, and she writes on a stone, the greatest philosopher of all times is Socrates. Now they are consumed by envy. They are very irritated. This cannot be possible. Socrates, he's the greatest. So they search for him, and he's preaching to the youth. And then they stop him and say, Socrates, are you aware that the God said that you are the greatest philosopher in Greece? So he stopped for a moment, he reflected, and he said, well, that's probably true. What? You think you are the greatest? Well, there is that chance. Why you think you're the greatest? And then he says, because I think that I'm the only one who knows that nothing knows. I'm the only one who knows that nothing knows. That's what knowledge do to us. The more you study, the more you equip yourself with knowledge, emotional knowledge, intellectual knowledge, we come to realize how much we don't know. When we have pride, then we think we know it all. We put ourselves in pedestals. And those who are walking by need to curb themselves to us, bound themselves to us, because we are thinking so elevated of ourselves. And that's when we easily get irritated by anything that happens. Now, allow me to share a personal story. And usually when we're here on the Spiritist podium, we should not talk about our own experiences, because this is not about elevating ourselves before you guys. This is about Spiritism and not about our individuality. But the context will make us understand what I'm trying to say. Whenever I am in the airplane, I usually try to call the stewardess by their name. That's what the name tag is there for. When you study history, the first thing that Hitler did when he received all the prisoners from the concentration camps, he used to remove their names and tattoo them with a number. Why? Because our name gives us dignity. Wherever you go, please read people's name and call them by their name. So this lady was pushing the cart towards me, one of the stewardess, and she didn't have a name tag. And then I asked her for her name, because nowadays you have to purchase everything inside the airplane. It's going to get to a point now even water you're drinking for free anymore. So the food cart came and she offered me something to eat, and I asked her for her name. And she looked at me and what? Your name? And she was resistant, but then she ended up saying, my name is Nancy. So, well, Nancy, can I get a sandwich? So she gives me this sandwich, and I noticed it was cold. I return it to her. And then, do you have anything hot? She gives me another hot sandwich. And then I see the yellow cheese that has about 5,000 calories, just the yellow cheese. So, well, Nancy, let me get the cold one because it looks healthier. It was a chicken wrap, you know. So I got the same sandwich. Thank you, Nancy. And then here comes the lady with a drink. And then, do you want anything to drink? What is your name? What? Can I get something to drink? What's your name? Why? Did I do something wrong? No. I want to treat you as a human being. You're not a machine to me. I respect what you do. And this is what she said. Usually when passengers ask for our names, it's to write us up. Look how sick we are. They're unbelievable. So no, I just want to treat you as a human being. That's what you are. Then she put her guards down. What can I get for you, honey? Oh, okay. Now we're speaking the same language. And then I asked for an orange juice. And then why I'm talking to this lady, the passenger in the back, she's listening to the conversation. And then the other stewardess came. Oh, he's just trying to be polite. He's calling us all by our name, you know. And I said, and she asked me, why are you doing that? She says, because we live in a very sick society. You know, you're not a machine. I want to treat you as a human being. And she said, oh, that's very nice. And while we're having this conversation, the lady taps on my back, the passenger in the back, and she says, can you quiet down? I'm trying to watch my movie here. So the stewardess that was standing me, she looked at this lady and she gave her such a mean look. I said, oh my God, I'm going to create a fight inside this airplane. And I said, you know, can I get just a little bit of ice, please? And she said, don't quiet down. I want to hear you. Speak louder. I said, no, just give me a little bit of my ice. Don't whisper. I want to hear your voice. Now she's trying to provoke the other passenger now. So, oh my God, what am I going to do now? It's fine the way it is. I put my orange juice. 5 minutes later, here they come. They come with this tray of food for me. And they're standing there right there next to the other passenger to show how mad they were at what she said. And she's giving me all this food. So they spend the next 5 hours of this flight catering to me and attending me, showing to the other passenger that what she did was completely unnecessary. And how awful. Over a name. And this was not about being loud because we were sitting right on top of the turbines. This was a loud flight to begin with. Easy gestures and that we allowed to disturb. Humbleness, foundation of all of our virtues. And the topic that Abigail asked us to talk today was the evolution of love. This emotion goes through different stages. We know in Spiritism that there is not only the physical evolution, but the spiritual evolution as well. The Spiritism goes in hand with science, but also goes beyond when science stops. We know about Charles Darwin and his theory of evolution, but Charles Darwin did not know about the spiritual evolution. He only knew about the physical evolution. When you talk to a zoologist, for example, at university, it is so sad that for them, evolution is just a random thing, that there is no direction, there is no destiny, there is no objective. Evolution is just happening. Species are adapting themselves to the environment they live in. But there is no objective, there is no goal. And Spiritists, we are aware there is a point to evolution, and that is the perfection of our souls. And the sublime emotion that will drive all the other emotions that we have is love. But this emotion goes through different stages and permeates the entire universe. When we had the Big Bang, the astrophysicists, they explain we have 4 initial forces: the weak force, the strong force, electromagnetism. All these forces were present in the beginning of the explosion. We're not going to get too scientific. It's Sunday morning, 12 o'clock. I don't want to bore you guys with the scientific data. But these initial forces, they were responsible for the creation of matter or space as we know it. So we detect their presence in the smaller things. If we break down this table, for example, we're going to get to the particles. And what particles are made up? Particles are made up of atoms. Atoms are made up of what? Protons, neutrons, electrons. Electrons are held to the nucleus of an atom by a force. And we call that force love. But love here is at the stage of attraction. Forces that attract. This energy more evolved into the plant kingdom. This is the same energy, more evolved, more developed in the plant kingdom. We're going to call it now instinct. If you have studied zoology, for example, if you have studied biology and all its different chains, all different trees, you know that a plant, when it's growing, follows the sun. It's called heliotropism. The instinct of the flower of the plant to search for the sun. Now, she doesn't know it. She's doing this by instinct. So at that stage, love is called instinct. But then this more evolved emotion gets into the animal kingdom. And that's where we're at right now. We are at the animal kingdom. And at this animal kingdom, we call love an emotion. And when we get to the angelic kingdom, and that's the kingdom where Jesus belonged, now we're going to call this emotion, love, a feeling of love. There's a huge difference between emotions and feelings. But this is the evolution of the same force within us through the eras, through time. And what Jesus has to do with anything, what Christmas has to do with anything, because Jesus came to show us the embodiment of this future love that one day we're going to experience. What kind of love is this? It's a love that accepts all, a love that gives, a love that doesn't wait for something back for whoever received the love from us. Because this kind of love, it's not complemented by what receives. This love is self-fulfilling, because love here at this stage breaks the law of mathematics. The more you give, the more you multiply within yourself. It benefits those who receive, but it brings peace and harmony, uncomparable to those who are doing, giving, providing love. Therefore, it's not important to be loved back. It's important to give love, because the more we give, the more it multiplies within ourselves. The big mistake that we do at the spirit of our evolution with love is that we expect to get love from the same person that we have given love. And it doesn't work that way. We're going to love person A, but person B will give us something back. We are so concentrated in expecting something from person A, the one who gave, that persons B, C, D, F, and G could love us, but our frustration with person A is so big that we don't pay attention to the rest of what they did. That's what we call a disillusionment. We create the illusions, and then we have to suffer the disillusionment. We suffer disillusionment all the time because of our expectations. We love a friend, and then we say to ourselves, I expect this friend to be honest, trustworthy, always there for me. In other words, we are most expecting here perfection. Is the friend a perfect individual? Obviously not. So the day this other friend acts normal and he's not there for me, there's a situation in which I cannot trust him, I will suffer a disillusionment. What is disillusionment? This means to get out, to remove. Illusion. What is an illusion? It's a fake image, a representation that we have created of someone. So if I suffer disillusionment, I come out of my own illusion. So who was responsible for the illusion to begin with? I was. This love that we're supposed to embody, it's not a love that expects anything. It's not that you're wishing for people to be evil. That's not it. You're not expecting them to be perfect. So when we do this at home, at our jobs, in society, we're never going to set ourselves up for pain. If I create the illusion, I'm setting myself up for lots of pain, because people in general have no obligations to attend to my expectations. If I create them, it's my problem. Therefore, I will embody the beginning, the rehearsal of this future love that one day we're going to experience by not creating expectations. And that's how we will understand how Jesus had to be born. Our hearts have to be humble. There is so much to learn. If there is so much to learn, then anyone could be a teacher. And I will love people as they are, not how I want them to be. And at this stage, this is very important to understand, love is not a feeling. Love is an action. Love is not a feeling. Love is an action. You might never met someone before. You smile at them. This is an action of love. Love your enemy. How in the world am I going to have the same feelings I have for a friend that I can trust with someone that I clearly know wants to harm me? Well, love is not a feeling here. Love is an action. I will wish them well. I will pray for them. And by wishing them well and praying for them, am I changing them? No. I am protecting myself from their negative thoughts. Because if I hate them back, I synchronize with them and they control me with their minds. They send me negative vibrations and I feel them. And I have a very terrible day. Not because of what they did, but because I allow myself to sync with them. So love is an action, not a feeling. Some of us, how can we love our mother-in-law? That calls for a challenge right there. Don't get me wrong, I love my mother-in-law, you know. Whenever she calls me from Japan, you didn't get it, did you? This is that's why I love her so much. She calls me from Japan. We're on the phone for 5 minutes. We live together. She's a very kind lady. But when we have this understanding that anyone could be a teacher, these difficult people that we have such a hard time being with them, now we know there's a purpose why they are in our lives. Without them, it's impossible to develop our virtues. How can I develop patience with people who are tranquil? Impossible. I can only develop patience with people who are very disturbing. These virtues are just like our muscles. In order for my muscle to grow, I need to exercise it. Virtues are the same thing. In order for me to get patience, to be patient, I need those around me provoking me. So instead of seeing these people as our enemies, they are our teachers, because they're giving me an opportunity to develop a virtue that yet I don't have. We Spiritists know that those who are in a better world, those who have evolved, those who experience love to its best, if we had an opportunity to be amongst them, that would not be convenient for us. Why? Because those spirits who are highly evolved will not provoke us, will not disturb us. So how I could develop patience with people who are not provoking me? It's a completely different way of looking at your mother-in-law. This is a woman that helps me a lot. She helps me exercise, have tolerance, patience, virtues that yet I don't have. And these virtues can only be attained by their practice. What are we doing here right now? This is just theory. I'm speaking here to myself and to you guys. Theories of how to love. Theories how to be patient. But just like any other theory, it's only a theory until it's put into practice. If we spend the next afternoon here speaking about football, would that make us football players? Yes or no? Yes or no? No. I didn't hear you. No. If we watch all the games that have been played, would that make us football players? No. If we read all the books and magazines written about football, would that make us football players? No. There is only one way to become a football player, and that is practicing hard in the field. Same thing about love and patience. We can spend an entire week here with seminars talking about patience, love, comprehension, humbleness. But that would not make us patient people. That would not make us loving people. There is only one way for that to happen, and that is to put into practice. So this Christmas, there's lots of opportunity to put those virtues into practice. And if we put them into practice, maybe we'll allow love, justice, and service to be born inside us. In other words, Jesus. Because for Spiritism, Christmas is not December 25th. Christmas will be a day in which we allow love, justice, and service to be born inside us. And when are we going to allow it? December 25th? Not necessarily. It could be March 3rd, July 2nd, September 9th. It's any day of the year that we pick, that we say to ourselves, I am tired of doing my own way. The way I've been thinking has created all my pain. I want to do something different. I want to try humbleness instead of pride. I want to try love instead of hate. I want to try forgiveness instead of resentfulness. And then Christ will be born. Because if we ask Peter, when was Jesus born for you? Peter's not going to say Jesus was born December 25th. Peter will say, Jesus was born when he told me that particular night that I would refuse him, I would deny him 3 times before the rooster sang. And then when they arrested Jesus, the first officers came and they asked me, weren't you together with that guy? And I said, no. In the back of my mind, I had an excuse. Somebody had to be alive to free up Jesus. Then the second time, I was warming up my hands, and then someone else said, well, I remember seeing with that guy. No, I wasn't. And now I had no excuse. And then as a defense mechanism, because I did not want to die, the third time came. someone said, I know you were together with Jesus the Nazareth, and you're going to be arrested. And then I said, you're wrong. And then I heard the rooster. And it was so loud that woke up my consciousness. And that's when Jesus was born for me. If we ask Thomas, when was Jesus born for you? Thomas is the one who doubts everything. And then Thomas would say, well, Jesus was born when the other apostles, they were in a closed house. And they told me they had seen Jesus resurrected. And of course, I did not believe it. What did I say? It's in the Gospels. I will only believe it when I put my finger through the holes in his hand. And then we were together again. Jesus showed up. He looks at me in the eye and says, Thomas, here it is. Go ahead. You could put your finger in it. And then he actually went there. I think if I was Thomas, that would be enough, you know. He went there. He placed his fingers inside the hole. And Jesus looked at him and says, well, you believe because you've seen. But blessed are those who didn't see yet believes. For Thomas, that day was Christmas. So when will be Christmas for you? The day you choose. Present means gift. And the best gift that you can give to you is the birth of these virtues inside you. Don't delay it. Don't postpone it. Happiness is not something that you get. It's what you experience by a decision that you make inside you. You are at the right place, at the right time, with the right people, thinking that everything is wrong. When we understand that this is not a mistake, this was no accident, that our lives were planned, then we're not going to wait a certain moment, a certain person, a certain situation to be happy. We're going to be happy because we are aware. To wrap it up, our conversation of the day, this small talk amongst friends. Remember when the airplane was falling on the Hudson River? There was a passenger inside the airplane that when he heard those three words, he said something happened that was very magical for him. When he heard the captain saying, embrace for impact, he saw his entire life flashing before his eyes. It's a psychological phenomenon that happens when we know that we are about to die. So as the airplane is falling, he realized that he was not a good father. Why? Because he never showed up to his child play. His daughter was an actress, and he says that she was a terrible actress. But because it was his daughter, she was fantastic. And because he had a second chance, from that day on, he attended to all her rehearsals and plays. He said to himself, he was so busy buying her things because he knew it was easier to give her stuff than giving of herself to her child. But then he realized not even children want to be bought. And he decided to give himself to his child. The second thing he learned is that he remembered that they always waited for a special occasion to experience happiness. Thanksgiving, Christmas, a birthday. You know how some people have some special china stored somewhere and they store that china for special occasions? And when the special occasion comes, you have to be so careful about the china that you don't experience the special occasion. It has to be handled in a certain way. Be careful with the china. You're going to chip it. The entire reunion, it's about the china, not about the people. So after the airplane experience, he used the china any day he decided there was going to be a special day. He woke up and he says, well, today is a special day. Let's use the china. And the third lesson that he learned, he remembered all the fights that he had with his wife was always about who was right. You know, when you are sitting in a car, the both of you, you're bored, you could tell how long somebody had been together with one another by the amount of conversation they're having. You know, new couples, they're talking through their elbows. Old couples, they're just quiet and sitting there. So you get into a restaurant, you know the ones have been long together and be. And if we really love the other person, that's one thing that we do a lot. We talk. Because love has this special ability to always put new clothes in old information. And they sat around and he realized these fights were all about who was right. They would look at the sky and said, oh my God, isn't it wonderful how the sky is all yellow? And then she would say, the sky is not yellow, it's an orange color. No, it's yellow, it's orange, it's yellow, it's orange. And then they get into this huge fight for nothing. And then they get to the other step. They start to provoke one another. You are indeed ignorant, aren't you? You cannot even tell the colors apart. No, you're the stupid one. And then they offend one another. And after they get tired of offending one another, they start putting the relatives into the fight. Your mother's this, your brother's that, you know. And he realized how much time they have wasted in trying to know who was right. And after that flight experience, since he got a second chance, he decided not to be right, but to be happy. So simple, yet deep and wonderful. This is not about being right. This is about being happy. When the world experiences Christmas, the world's vibration changes, and the spirits, they find room in our minds and heart to make us more sensitive to our self-transformations. Therefore, experience the joy of Christmas, being happy, loving, understanding, and service. Because as you love, love will come back to you. This is the message of the gospel according to Spiritism. This is the message given by